And we're back with the state Republican Party chairman, Mr. Chris Healy, and the state's Democratic chairwoman, Ms. Nancy DiNardo. Thanks again for being here. Nancy, you wanted to fill in the blanks a little bit here, having to do with what, if you take a trip to Florida, you want equal time?
To see the governor's second home in an exclusive little beachside. But I'd like to show that video on your show as well.
Okay. If you can film it, we'll let you come on. How's
Okay,
that?
great. Thank you.
All right, moving on to state politics. Let's talk about the numbers that came in as far as the governor's race. Still seems like a long way away, but of course, as I say, these numbers do give us an idea how things are going. Dan Malloy had a strong showing up there. You can see the numbers. Bicewitz not too far behind. Amon only pulling in $8,000. And this was also a talker having to do with Governor Jody Rell, that she raised $20,000 during the last 3 months. First of all, let's talk about Governor Rell. She has been busy with the budget crisis. She had said she's not going to make a decision until she gets the budget crisis and a budget in place. But some are surprised, only $20,000. How serious is she considering a run for governor?
I think she's doing what the people elected her to do, which is to try to get the Democrats to pass a budget and to come to their senses about why we can't afford any more tax increases and we can't afford more spending increases, because the state of Connecticut is in deep trouble, both short-term and long-term. So I think the governor's doing what she's always said she's going to do, so we should believe her. She's got a high favorability rating because people think she's honest and trustworthy, which she is. So she's going to evaluate it by the end of the year and I think make a decision, which is really what she did 4 years ago. So when she decided to run in her own right.
Nancy, you buying that?
Well, yes and no, but you know, she really isn't doing that much. And yes, she does have a high favorability rating. But if you ask people what she did that they think is so impressive, they can't tell you one thing that she has done. And I can tell you this past month has shown that she lacks leadership. She should have been there early on, sitting down on the budget, talking about the budget. And if you look at the health care bills, there's over 326,000 people without health care. 322 of those thousand are under 65. And she's talking about having a plan or a panel to discuss this. She's been there, what, 6 years now? And now there's more people who lack health care than when she started. And now she's talking about putting a panel and a committee together?
So, Nancy, though, why not, though the Democrats clearly have the supermajority in the General Assembly, why not just override these vetoes?
Well, they're going to try that on Monday, and we will see if that will happen.
Here's what's going on in the state. People are having trouble holding on to their homes. They're eating hamburger more than they used to. They're going to the town pool rather than go to the beach. We are in a real situation here in this state. And the Democrats, who have controlled the legislature for almost 34 years, who control the branch of government that puts a budget together, have failed to deliver. They will not sit down and have a reasonable discussion with the governor, who has them up to the residents to sit down and say, what are you prepared to cut? How are we going to live within our means? They don't want to cut anything. The Speaker of the House, Chris Donovan, and the Majority Leader, Denise Merrill, and the President Pro Tem, Don Williams, think they can wait the governor out and then play the demagogue game that she doesn't care about people. It's nonsense. Most people don't believe that. We need to get serious about this budget. We're $8 billion out of whack, and let's get on with a little leadership from the, quote, supermajority.
But if the governor really wanted to get a budget resolved, why was there a $2 billion deficit in the first budget that she proposed on February 4th? She knew, and there was documentation, knowing that it was an $8 billion budget, and yet she only proposed to make up for $6 billion.
Well, then why didn't they vote on her budget? Because they know deep down that this is a matter of whether I'm going to drown in 10 feet of water or 30 feet of water. Well, we have a budget problem here that's systemic, endemic, and the state public employees unions do not want to surrender one benefit for the greater good of this state. That's what this comes down to. And Nancy and our friends, but they own the Democratic Party in the legislature.
But there have been concessions that were worked out with Rell, so how do you explain that?
Well, the governor showed leadership to say she wants to be reasonable, but the unions have got to come back and agree to some working conditions and some cuts in programs and some further retirements so that we can get this budget to a point where we're competitive again as a state. You know, people are leaving this state for a reason. Because it's too expensive to live here, because the government has to be well fed, and because the Democrats aren't willing to say no to their own.
Nancy, how important is it that the progressive income tax makes it?
Well, I think it is
And the
important. I definitely think cities and towns are hurting because we don't have progressive tax reform, and that's what we need to make a difference in this state.
And of course, that is the sticking point from what I'm hearing as far as the progressive income tax is it would raise the income tax on couples making over, it was $250,000. I think now it's up to $500,000. I'm not sure. There's a blackout period.
Yes.
And I have to say this, shouldn't they be talking to the press? Hasn't this been going on long enough? How do the people of Connecticcut know what is going on in the budget process if they don't know?
Nancy, I agree. Most people don't pay attention to this right now. But at some point, as people are trying to balance their own budgets, they have to understand that this is a serious job ahead, and they have to get their legislators involved.
Sorry, guys, we are out of time. Thank you so much.